Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Wednesday, July the 17th. In this video, I'm going to cover the 9-game main slate, the 9-game 7 o'clock slate, where we got 9 games from 7 to 10 o'clock. I did make a video for the early slate. There is a 6-game early slate on DraftKings, so if you are planning to play that, I would appreciate it if you would check that early slate video out. That one's going to go up a lot sooner than this one does. This one will be up later tonight. The early slate video will be up shortly after Tuesday's block. But for this main slate, we're going to do DraftKings and Yahoo. Start off with pitching. Talk about the pitching options that I like today. I'll be sure to hit on all the guys I feel like I'm going to be playing. Then we'll look at some hitters that I really like. We'll talk about some bats. We'll look at some stacks. Then towards the end of the video, we'll cover some BVP plays as well. Just before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But at the top, we got Garrett Cole as our most expensive option today. He is $12,500 in a matchup with the Angels. Now, this matchup for Cole is not that great, but it could be a bit better if Mike Trout is not in the lineup. He's missed the last 2 games, I believe. He did not play on Tuesday as well. So if Trout is out, it becomes a much more appealing matchup for Garrett Cole. He did do really well earlier this year against the Angels. He just faced them pretty recently. 2 starts ago, he went 7 innings, allowed 3 hits, no runs, got 9 strikeouts, 34 DraftKings points in his last start against the Angels. You could definitely pay up for Garrett Cole, especially if Trout's out of the lineup. But I still don't feel like he's a must on this slate, especially at $12,500. I think with how Yahoo has their pricing, if I'm going to play Cole, it'd probably be over there. Like Clevenger's $54, Cole's only $58. Right now, Yahoo has Steven Strasburg pitching for the Nationals, but it looks like it's going to be Eric Fede. So ignore Strasburg, Cole, and Clevenger, the 2 guys at the top on Yahoo. I'd rather play Cole over there. On DraftKings, though, you got a lot of savings going down to a guy like Mike Clevenger. I think Clevenger is in a really good spot here at home against the Tigers, and he's almost $3,000 cheaper than Garrett Cole. I think he could easily be one of the highest scoring pitchers on this slate, if not the highest scoring pitcher, given this matchup against the Tigers. It's a Tigers team that strikes out a ton versus right-handed pitching. They have a really low total for today, just a 3.5 implied run total. A lot of Ks in this Tigers lineup. Really good spot for Mike Clevenger. He's a heavy favorite at minus 240. Just has a lot of things going in his favor. So I do like Clevenger quite a bit today on DraftKings. On Yahoo, Clevenger's $54, and like I said, I think I would just rather play Garrett Cole for $4 more. But looking at Yahoo's pricing, I think Chris Paddack is the guy that I want to go to on Yahoo. He's only $45. He's a lot cheaper than some of the other guys. Like if you look on DraftKings, Chris Paddack's the second most expensive pitcher at $10,900 behind Cole. On Yahoo, Paddack's like the 5th most expensive pitcher. I feel like he's a great play, great SP1 play at $45 on Yahoo. Obviously a favorable matchup against the Marlins. It's a Marlins lineup that's going to be very right-handed heavy. Looks like they're going to have at least 7 righties in the projected lineup. The only 2 lefties are Neil Walker and JT Riddle. Paddack, you would rather him face a bunch of righties because he's better versus righties than lefties. So a really good spot for Paddack. I think both pitchers in this game are great plays. Paddack, not as much on DraftKings, but on Yahoo I really like. Trevor Richards, a guy that I'm going to be all over today, that I'm going to have a lot of exposure to on both sides. But for DraftKings SP1, I really like Clevenger at $9,900. For Yahoo SP1, I like Paddack a lot at $45. And then I did mention Trevor Richards. I think he's the clear SP2 play. $7,300 on DraftKings, and on Yahoo he's at $36. So he is also in a pretty favorable spot here, pitching at home against the Padres. Really nice ballpark for Trevor Richards, pitching in Marlins Park. Really favorable matchup as well. This is a Padres lineup that is very right-handed heavy. They're going to roll out at least 6 righties. The only lefties in the projected lineup are Eric Hosmer, Mejia, and Greg Garcia. And I would say besides Hosmer, Mejia and Garcia are pretty easy outs. Really good spot for Richards. He's really good against righties. He gets a lot of strikeouts versus right-handed hitters. He's already faced the Padres once this year and did really well against them. 32 fantasy points, 5 innings, only allowed 1 hit, 2 walks, got 8 strikeouts. Great production out of Richards the last time he faced the Padres. Now he gets a really good matchup again. He's very cheap. It's a really favorable spot. He just feels like one of the better SP2 plays if you're looking for a cheaper SP2. If you go with Paddack, or if you go with Richards and Clevenger on DraftKings, you're left with $4,100 remaining per player. which is actually quite a bit. And on Yahoo, if you go Paddock and Richards, you're left with $14 remaining per player, which is also a pretty decent amount of salary you should definitely be able to work around. So that's kind of where I'm looking to for pitching today. Guys like Domingo Germán, Robbie Ray, going to be more secondary plays for me. Like on DraftKings, if I'm paying up for a 10K and above guy, obviously I like Clevenger the most at just 9,900. But if I'm going to 10K and above, I'd rather play Paddock over Germán and Ray, and I'd rather probably just play Cole over Paddock. But still don't feel like I'm going to be going to many of those guys on DK. Really like Clevenger as my SP1 play. Then some of these other mid-tier plays, maybe like a Danny Duffy at 7,700 against the White Sox, you could look to as a potential value. Eric Fede pitching against the Orioles. Do want to mention him. Eric Fede is not that good of a pitcher, but he's facing the Orioles, and he's dirt cheap at 6,100. So he is a guy that you could look to as a value. Even Ivan Nova against the Royals, only 5K. It's a pretty favorable spot for Nova. He's not a good pitcher, but he's dirt cheap, and he's in a good matchup. So I did at least want to mention him. But I think that's it for pitching for value pitchers. Let's go ahead and talk about some bats now. So looking at this slate, I think there are two teams that really stand out to me. The Indians I really like with a 5.6 implied run total versus Spencer Turnbull. And the Red Sox versus Aaron Sanchez I really like with a 6.8 implied run total. A couple Red Sox bats really stand out on DraftKings. JD Martinez for one at 4,800 on DK. Just feels way too cheap for this matchup with Sanchez. But Mookie Betts as well at 5,400 I really like. Mookie and JD going to be two guys I go to quite a bit on DraftKings, especially JD since he's only 4,800. JD I really like a lot on Yahoo. It's a bit tougher to play Mookie and JD together on Yahoo because they're pretty expensive. Mookie's 25, JD's 23. I do like JD a lot at 23 though. I just feel like this is a great matchup for both guys. Really just a good spot in general for the Red Sox facing Aaron Sanchez. Sanchez just not that good of a pitcher. He gives up a lot of home runs. He has not been good this year at all. I stacked against him pretty heavily in his last start against the Yankees. It wasn't doing too well, and then he just kind of got blown up in one inning. He gave up like a 3-run double to Edwin Encarnacion, just kind of all went downhill after that. So Sanchez is a guy that you can definitely stack against. You just look at his last 4 starts. Against the Yankees on the 24th of June, allowed 7 runs through 5 innings. Against the Royals, 6 runs through 3 innings. Against the Orioles, he actually did pretty decent, but still gave up 2 runs and a home run in that start. And then in his last start against the Yankees, he gave up 4 runs in that start. So Sanchez has just been terrible this year. Definitely a guy you want to stack against. Obviously a tough spot for him, having to face the Red Sox in Fenway. So love these Red Sox bats today. Definitely my favorite stack overall on this slate. And then another team I like is the Indians. The Indians are actually a team that give you a lot of value. 2 guys that really stand out to me, or I would say 3 guys. Jason Kipnis at 3,600 on DraftKings, Bobby Bradley at 3,400, and Jake Bauers at 3,600 are all really good value plays in my opinion. Spencer Turnbull is definitely a guy you want to attack with left-handed hitters, and the Indians will most likely be rolling out 8 lefties in the lineup. Only righty will be the catcher Roberto Perez. So Lindor, Kipnis, Santana, Bradley, Ramirez, Bauers, especially the 1 through 6. That's what I really like from the Indians today. And going with those expensive Red Sox bats, we're going to need some value. So that's where you can find cheap guys in Jason Kipnis. On Yahoo, I really like Jason Kipnis as well. I like him a lot on both sides. I do want to talk about Bobby Bradley because I think he's a really good value on Yahoo. At first base, he's only $8. He's close to minimum salary. Both of these guys just feel like really good value plays against Turnbull. Like I said, Turnbull just really struggles with lefties. Both these guys are dirt cheap. Both of them have power versus right-handed hitters. Kipnis was starting off the year pretty terrible, but he's been much better as of late. And then Bobby Bradley, one of the young prospects for the Indians. I think he just got called back up, or he went back to AAA, then they called him back up. Getting to face Turnbull here, I really like Bradley. Does have some power, so I think he's in a really good spot, and he's dirt cheap. If you're stacking the Indians, just feels like one of the clear auto plays at first base, only $8. Obviously, if you play Bradley, you're not going to be able to play Santana, but if you're paying up for those Red Sox bats, it's going to be hard to pay up for those Red Sox bats and pay up for Santana as well. So that's kind of where I'm looking to for Yahoo today and for DraftKings. Let's go ahead and talk about some stacks real quick, then we'll look at some BVP before we end the video. So my 2 favorite stacks are the Red Sox and the Indians. Those are the 2 teams I'm going to be really loading up on this slate. Mixing in those expensive Red Sox bats with those cheap Indians going to be the way that I probably go. But then some of the other teams we could potentially consider. We do have a couple high totals in this Texas game. 5.1 implied run total for the Rangers, 5.5 for the D-backs. Robbie Ray, not usually a guy that I want to stack against, especially with this Rangers team because of how left-handed heavy they are. But on the other side, I think some of the Diamondbacks hitters versus Jesse Chavez makes sense, especially the guys that have power. So Adam Jones, Escobar, Marte, Walker, Jake Lamb, Kevin Cron, those are some guys who could consider potentially as a stack. Don't mind the D-backs as a secondary team. But other than that, I don't really like any of the other teams on this slate. Like, the Yankees have a high total, but this is not the best spot against Yonny Chirinos. Yonny Chirinos, a pretty talented pitcher, not a guy that I'll really stack against. Definitely some Nationals versus Aaron Brooks I think makes sense, but the Nationals are very expensive, and if I'm going to pay up for expensive bats, I think I'd rather play the Red Sox bats over the Nationals. But Nationals as a secondary team makes sense. But Indians and Red Sox, two teams I like the most. But now let's talk about some BVP real quick before we end the video. So we got a lot of BVP plays. I'm just going to cover the ones that really stand out to me. So starting off with JT Realmuto, he's gone 4 for 11 with 2 home runs off of Kenta Maeda. Adam Jones, 6 for 14 with the home run off Jesse Chavez. Alex Avila, 3 for 11, 2 home runs off Jesse Chavez. Logan Forsythe, 5 for 11 with the home run off Robbie Ray. And then lastly, down here at the bottom, Jose Abreu gone 17 for 53 with 2 home runs off of Danny Duffy. So those are just a couple of BVP plays for today, guys. I think that is it for this video. Hopefully you did enjoy the video, and hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed the video, just make sure you click that like button down below and make sure you subscribe if you have not already. And if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, or you can always hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT if you do have any questions. And like I said at the beginning, if you're planning to play the 6-game early slate, I did make a video for the early slate. If you want to check that out, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.